Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is a very special episode. I am so excited. We are all the way in Miami interviewing Jeanette, Ms.FitVegan, and we are in studio for our very first in-person podcast. A lot of my podcasts are going to start to be in person, so I hope you guys love it. Let me know in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up right now. Subscribe if you don't already, and let's hop right into it. Today we are talking about food addiction with Jeanette, and I feel like so many of us have a food addiction or have had a food addiction. And so many people want to be healthy, no matter what the lifestyle, whether they want to eat super clean, raw vegan like us, or no matter what their lifestyle, it can be really hard to give up these addictive foods. And a lot of them are manufactured that way, so many things. So there's so much to talk about in today's video. And I'd love to first start out by your story a little bit. If you could give everybody a brief synopsis, because I know you say like you used to live for food, right? For the junk food, and you have totally transformed, and now you do not eat those foods. You've got the strength, the power. So tell us a little bit how you did that.
Hey, Boo. So thank you so much for having me. And yeah, well, the raw vegan lifestyle has saved my life. That's why I do what I do. So I was absolutely addicted to processed foods, processed sugar, salt, oil for 26 years of my life. You know, the first 26 years, I ate everything. And around 13 years old, that's when I really started to have a food addiction. I didn't know it at the time. But yeah, so food was my main source of happiness. It was everything to me. You know, when I was sad, I ate. When I was happy, I ate. When I was depressed and had anxiety, I ate. And I eventually started having health issues around 16. So it took 3 years. And I gained a lot of weight. I had cystic acne. I was very, very depressed. I had migraines. I had chronic bronchitis. I had eczema on my body. And you know what? I'm trying to think because I had so many, ear infections all the time. You know, we forget all the things that we've suffered from. But I was constantly sick, constantly having to take Z-Paks and antibiotics. And since going raw vegan 12 years ago, I have not ever had to take any antibiotics. I've not been sick. Got rid of my cystic acne. I lost over 50 pounds. And the number one thing that I'm so grateful for is my depression has lifted. And I know it was the food. I know it. And of course, there's many other things that I've done, but the food absolutely affects your mood. And so thank you for having me on to talk about this.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest part. I feel like that's the hugest thing and how it affects our mood. Even as somebody who eats super clean, if I overeat, it still affects my mood, even if I'm overeating, and which I don't typically do anymore. So I feel like I can add some value in this, help everybody. But even overeating the healthy foods, I think affects our mood. So I think it's amazing. And I just want to read out a list just so people know, because I think everybody can relate to this, of the 8 common signs and symptoms of food addiction. And then we can expand on some of these points. So getting cravings despite being full, eating much more than intended, eating until feeling excessively stuffed, feeling guilty afterward, but doing it again soon. I think we've all been there. Making up excuses, repeated failures at setting rules, and hiding eating from others. And I know I did read something that said, it was a study, and it said 3 to 7% of people have a food addiction, but I think it's way higher
more
than that. More. So what do you think about these? And do you, as a raw vegan, somebody who eats really clean now, do you still experience cravings for the old foods and things like that? I know I don't anymore, but how is that for you?
Yeah, so that's a good question that I get a lot. How do you deal with cravings? Do you experience cravings? I don't believe in cravings. I believe in addictions. And so the reason I don't crave those foods that I used to eat, the processed foods, the McDonald's, the pizza, the chocolate, the candies, is because I have not eaten them in over 12 years. And so if you don't eat something, you're not going to crave it. It's just like an alcoholic. If you don't drink, you're not going to crave the alcohol. And so, yeah, I mean, listen, if you're craving processed foods, you're not eating enough fruit. If you're craving salt, you're not eating enough vegetables. That's it. It's very simple. Now, that's not the only thing you do when you're trying to get over a food addiction, but that's the basis of the diet aspect. That's it. You're not eating enough fruit. And if you don't like fruit, it's probably because you don't know how to pick it yet. So that's why we exist, you know, to help people do that and to know when fruit is ripe and ready to eat, because it's supposed to be delicious. It's not supposed to be bland. If you're eating a honeydew and it tastes like water, it's not ripe. And so you got to wait. You got to wait till it smells. You got to wait till there's some give. Okay. And yeah, so that's what I do with my life. And tapping into your purpose, which we'll talk about, is a big part of it as well. All those things that you read off, people are suffering from mostly because they're not tapped into their purpose. And so when you tap into why you're here, then you can find joy and pleasure and happiness from other things besides food. A lot of us are getting all of our dopamine from food. And eating processed food does raise our dopamine and our estrogen levels. And so we need to find other ways, things that we enjoy, things that we love to do, and if you don't know what you love to do, experiment, take a yoga class, go on a hike, take an art class. And so this is a big part of the ladies in my food addiction courses. I help them tap into their purpose and their happiness and joy outside of food.
Amazing. And yeah, I'll link that down below. That's awesome you do that. And I think it's so true what you said about purpose. So when my husband and I were going through a bad separation in 2019 or 2020, that was the first time in my life that I felt myself like overeating and binge eating, because I just felt like that was the only thing I could do to get a sense of relief for a very short period of time. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's an emotional thing. And some people feel like that's all they have, that's all they have. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I do believe there's a difference between emotional eating and a food addiction. If I could just talk about that for a second. Because I've studied this my whole life, because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't have willpower. I didn't have any discipline. I couldn't stick to any diet. I did everything, Gillian. Weight Watchers, The Zone. I did the grapefruit diet, the Hollywood diet, like every diet possible, the baby food diet. Okay, I just ate baby food.
No
in high
way.
School.
That's a diet that people do?
Is.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing is that emotional eating is you're really trying to deal with your emotions through food, right? And food addiction is more of an external force that's pulling you towards that food no matter what you feel, whether you're happy or sad or whatever it is. And so some people have both, which I did. I had both, a food addiction, and I was suffering from emotional eating, overeating. But yeah, they're two different things. And so I just want everyone to know that's watching this that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad or stupid. You're not undisciplined for having a food addiction. That's a way that you were wired.
Yeah.
I was wired with an addictive personality. To be honest, my parents met in AA. So
wow.
Yeah, addiction runs in my family. And so I've found a way to control my addiction. But I'm telling you right now, I could easily go back. I could easily go back to eating all those things, but I choose not to. And getting control of my mind, tapping into my purpose, finding other things I love, those have really helped me. And of course, there's lots of tips and tricks on eating a healthy, raw vegan lifestyle.
Yeah. Crazy. Well. Wow. Interesting. And yeah, it's not people's fault, because also it is the willpower and everything too, like you were saying. But also, like I was saying before, the food is manufactured, so much of it nowadays, to wire people to be addicted to it, right? And like you were saying before, if you're eating more of it, you're going to crave more of it, right? So it's all about getting that out of you, no matter how hard it is. So I think in order to kick that addiction, I don't know about you, but I think the best thing would be maybe to set like a 30-day time frame. I'm going to just eat super clean, only real food, ideally raw food, but real food for 30 days and stay away from the processed food. And I've heard it can take like 10 days for the sugar cravings to stop. I think it can take, they say, I don't know how long it really is, but 21 days for the taste buds to change. If you can just stick to those 30 days, right? And just stay away from like people who influence you in that time period to like drink alcohol or go for burgers or pizza or all that stuff. Stay away from those things and just prioritize yourself for 1 month. It's only 1 month of your life, right? Then your microbiome can change and eat as healthy and clean as you can. Maybe not, don't overload on dehydrated, dried food, like as good as possible. And it could just totally change someone's life and help you like get out of that addiction. But it's such a strong word, food addiction, but it's true. And we live in a world where so many people are addicted to food. You were saying before we got on here, you were just traveling and you can see in the airports too, like all the food that's available. It's crazy. Even I see in my daughter's school and stuff like this. And I just hope things change.
Yeah. And what you said was such a great tip though, staying away. Okay. So staying away from the food that you're addicted to is probably one of the most important things in the beginning. So in the beginning, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And Chef AJ says that a lot, and it's true. And I know she overcame her food addiction and talked to her a lot about it. And if you can get it out of your house, that is one of the best things you can do. And if you can stay away from it, don't go to those outings for the first 30 days. Don't go to your favorite restaurant, because if you eat it, you're going to crave it more. Whatever in your bloodstream, you crave. So we crave fruit and veggies because that's all we're eating. So, if I start eating French fries, I'm going to want more French fries. You have to understand that it's a chemical addiction that's happening. So sometimes it doesn't feel like a choice. It is a choice, but when you have a substance like this, salt, sugar, oil, processed sugar and oil, it's really overpowering, and it can really seem like you don't have control.
Yeah. And it's like, don't let them win. Those manufacturers,
Right.
don't let them win. Don't let them
Right.
control you. Get control. Like you can do it. If we can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Because I used to live off pizza, pasta, like not very clean food. I did have smoothies and some healthy stuff, but it was a lot of like processed food and stuff like that.
Can I ask you about your mindset in the beginning? Because this is like, I think this is key. And I'm wondering, how did you get control of your mindset? Because it's all about, it's all the mind. How did you just say no more?
Yeah. For me, it was so easy because I went raw overnight, September 1st, 2016. And literally by the afternoon of the first day of just eating raw foods, I felt so good. It was a huge difference. Even my husband was like, whoa, like you seem so different. Like I felt like myself for the first time in my life and I felt so good.
Yeah.
So because I felt so good, I didn't want to go back and I didn't want to not feel that way again. I just wanted to scream from the rooftop and tell the whole world, like I feel so amazing. So it was just very easy and effortless in my case, but it was also a gradual process because I started years and years ago by removing gluten after I realized the effect that had on me and dairy and all the problems and removing other things. So I think that's why. And then once I got to the raw, it was like, boom, wow. And then it's been easy and it's been the biggest transformation of my entire life, the best thing I've ever done. And I think there is, I think it's not all food, right? We're not here just to eat food.
Right.
And I think like what you're saying before too, like finding my purpose, which is this channel and other things as well, is just totally what's taken me out of the overeating that I had, the problem where I was overeating a lot when we were going through the divorce and stuff like that. Purpose is everything, I feel like.
Yes. Well, a lot of my clients, they want things to change, right? They want to lose weight and they want to clear their skin and they want things to change, but they don't want to change. And that's not going to happen. And so what you just said, that's it. That's it. You've got to understand like what else in life makes you feel good besides food, and do those things, prioritize those things, whether you have time or not. You always have, like me, yoga is something that I love to do. And it helps me with my food addiction because it gives me pleasure. And so whether I have 5 minutes or 90 minutes, I do yoga every single day. Some days I only have 5 minutes. And that's okay. But if I stop prioritizing yoga and I stop prioritizing doing my channel and interviewing people, and if I stop prioritizing going to the beach and doing, the things that also help me to feel good, then I'm going to go back to my food addiction. Okay. So it's a choice. And I asked you about your mindset because I feel that, life is just one big head game that we play with ourselves. And if we don't get control of our mind, we'll never get control of our eating habits. So I want to urge everybody listening to look at your mind. Are you saying, I can't do this? Because then you cannot do this. And it's like, there's two voices in our head, okay? One of the voice is our inner roommate, okay? I got this from The Untethered Soul. Have you read this book?
I love it. I've read it, yeah. It's so
I
good.
thought you would.
Years ago, I read it.
Yeah, this is a great book. And he talks about your inner roommate, which is your inner critic. Name them. Give them a name, okay? Every time you hear something negative, they are talking. That's not you. That's them. That's the old you. That's the old false negative beliefs. Now, give your other voice a name as well, your higher self. I like to call it my alter ego. So Ms.FitVegan is my alter ego. And she's raw vegan. She's amazing. She's confident. And she's positive. And she says life-affirming things to me. She says every day, you are beautiful. You are enough. You can do this, okay? And then the old voice, the negative voice says you can't. So every day I want you to think, who's talking right now? And if it's the negative voice, you got to say no more. I love you, but I don't need you anymore. I need a voice that is positive and gives me life and gives me confidence and says I can. Because if you can do something, like honestly, Gillian, everything is in the mind. Because if you say you can do it, it's going to be so much easier. And if you say something's easy, it gets easier.
So
if
true.
you say something's hard, it's way harder.
And it can be just as bad for us if we're thinking like toxic, negative thoughts. That can be just as bad for us, right? As eating the bad foods. It can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's raw vegans out there that are not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because health is like a holistic wheel, right? It's food, it's your mindset, it's exercise, it's nature time, it's sleep, it's love and laughter, it's purpose. There's lots of things that are combined to give you the health that you really, really want. If you just eat raw, which by the way, I did. For 6 years, I just ate raw and I lost the weight and I cleared my skin, but I wasn't happy and I wasn't very healthy. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't really living my purpose. I was in a toxic relationship. Okay. I was negative. Self-talk. I had no self-esteem. I had no positive self-talk in my life. So yeah, you can absolutely eat raw and not feel good.
Yeah, I do feel like for me, it changed my mindset so much going raw. And I think for a lot of people,
It does help.
But
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you with that. I totally agree. But I think for a lot of people too, eating healthier, it affects your thinking. It affects your thoughts and your attitude.
yes.
So just getting healthy, it'll naturally change that mindset and make you feel happier, make you think happier, and then lead to better things. So
Well,
I feel
it
like
can-
if, you know, and then it's like a domino effect. You're thinking better, you're attracting better. Oh, I want to go work out because I feel better. I'm eating better. And it's just a domino effect of better and better and better and better and more positive, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what you said, absolutely true. I think the fruit, it doesn't make you think better, but it clears the negativity out for you to be who you really are, which is a happy, healthy, positive person, optimistic person. I think that's what the fruit does. It cleans the negativity out, the lies, the false beliefs that we've had. And listen, if you have, these negative thoughts and low self-esteem, that's not your fault. That's just old programming.
So true. I didn't have any self-esteem or like self-worth until I went raw, literally.
Same.
And I'm
Yeah.
so much more confident and just feel like in touch with myself.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm doing this, in a million years, I never thought I would be on camera. I thought I was the ugliest person on earth before I went raw. I thought that everybody was looking at me, like everybody was looking at my nose. I have a big, I was just so criticizing myself all the time. And now I'm just
Me
like,
too.
I always say to myself every single morning, I look in the mirror and I say, I love you. You are enough. You are beautiful. You can do this.
Yeah.
And that's my mantra. And I have, lots of self-talk that I do. And I know for sure it's the diet that has helped me do that. So yes, you are correct. Absolutely. It does change your mindset. It's always been there, but the crap was in the way, the chemicals and the processed foods.
Yeah. And I can't remember if we said before, like we have some great questions from the viewers too. We'll get into soon. They're so good. And I want to ask, I can't remember if you said what you ate. Like, what was a typical day for you of eating before you were able to like kick the food addiction?
You're not ready for this.
I'm ready.
Okay, so I didn't have like the greatest childhood. And so I didn't grow up with like home cooked meals. I didn't grow up on an organic farm. I didn't have an avocado or kale until I was 26.
Me too. I was like that too. Yeah.
Until I went raw.
Wow.
Okay. So like I didn't have healthy food and I was afraid of green things. I thought they were going to make me have digestive issues. I was scared of anything healthy. So a typical day in the life of ms.FitVegan before I went raw. Okay. I literally used to eat M&Ms for breakfast.
Wow. Next level.
I used to eat McDonald's for lunch and then either Chinese food for dinner or more fast food, Taco Bell, KFC. It was a really bad diet. And this is why I got so sick when I went raw. And maybe we'll talk about this. I don't know if there's a question from your viewers about this, but yeah, I went through a major detox going raw because I went from unhealthy to raw. Okay. And yeah, I had a lot of stuff, a lot of antibiotics too. I was constantly taking antibiotics. I was on Accutane for my skin and I had a lot of mucus from all the meat and dairy and fast food and processed foods. And so I never ate fruit, although I loved watermelon my whole life, but I was afraid to eat it because I was like, too much sugar. I mean, it was crazy, the things that I thought.
Yeah, right?
And so it's too much sugar or like, you can't have too much fruit. And then, but watermelon was pretty much it. I never liked any other fruit and definitely no greens. Never.
Wow.
Never.
And the greens are so important for us.
I love greens now.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have a hard time kicking these things. So a lot of people say, oh, I could do it, but I could eat healthy, but I can't give up the cheese or I can't give up this. Like, what do you say to somebody who says like, I can't give up the cheese?
Yeah. You can't give it up because you're saying you can't give it up.
Yeah.
You got to watch your words because life and death is in the tongue. You got to watch your words. You can. And I have my clients. So I do a food addiction freedom course every 6 weeks. And I have my clients write on an index card all the things that they have done in their life, all the really, really hard things. Okay. So all the things they've accomplished, all the things they've overcome, all the things they've been through. And I have them look at that when they say they can't give up cheese. Look at that. You have been through so much worse, so much harder things. We have lost loved ones. Some of us have been traumatized and abused. You can give up cheese, boo. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You can even make raw vegan cheese and it tastes amazing.
It's so good.
So let's stop with the I can't. That's what I tell people.
And we just have to emphasize, like, you really don't miss those foods.
Absolutely
I never
not.
miss those foods. And I used to live off sheep's cheese from France and like all these things.
Oh, the
and
good
there
stuff.
never crosses my mind in a day. Like maybe once a year I'll be somewhere and be like, oh, that smells good. And think like for a second.
Yeah.
Never though. It's not part of my daily. So like if we can get to the other side, anybody can.
I want to say something real quick about that. Okay. So like I live with a junk food vegan. And
you do?
Yes, I do.
Currently,
my
your roommate?
best friend.
No way. Wow.
Best friend, 15 years. She's a junk food vegan. I love her to death. And she's my favorite person on earth. But she will make things like waffles sometimes, and I'll smell it, and I'll be like, oh, that smells so good. But I don't want to eat it. You see, you can appreciate the way something smells and looks and even taste, but you don't choose to eat it because when you let go of your food addiction, you realize that you are in control. You are in control. And so I appreciate the smell of waffles. I love the smell, but I don't eat it. Why? Because I'm full on fruit. I eat enough fruit. You see, people are trying to abstain from certain foods, but they're hungry.
Yeah.
You got to eat fruit. You got to eat the fruit you love, and then you will not crave the other food. I promise you.
Yeah. And I think you have to associate it with how you feel because my family, they don't eat like me. And all my friends back home in Toronto, everybody around me doesn't eat this way. So I'm around different foods all the time. And it would be so easy for me to have a pizza, coffee, wine. But I always think I eat good to feel good. And I think if I eat that pizza, I'm not going to feel this high vibe. I'm not going to have this energy. I'm not going to feel good. So I think we all need to start like really getting to that level where we know what good feels like, healthy feels like. And then you choose those habits. You choose to eat based on how you want to feel. That's what I do. And that's what really works for me.
And it gets easier. Gillian, you've been doing this for 6 years now,
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, it gets easier. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I could never do that, because you haven't.
Yeah.
Everything's hard before you know how to do it. It gets easier. It gets easier. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I lived on, fast food and pasta. I forgot to mention that. But I was like, there's no way I could live without bread. And now I'm just like, there's no way I could even eat bread again.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me to eat bread.
Me too. It doesn't even look like food to me now.
And
I used to live off bread. I would have bread at every single meal.
It's dry and it's not colorful, bright, and beautiful.
No, it's crazy. Well, I have some great questions. I'd love to get into these.
I'm so excited.
So somebody said what to do when the cravings hit and are overpowering your self-control.
What to do when the cravings hit and overpowering. Okay, so step 1 is you're not eating enough fruit. If you have cravings for processed foods, like I said, you're not eating enough fruit. I got that from Doug Graham. And I was like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. If you're full on fruit that you love, juicy, sweet, delicious fruit, okay, your favorite.
Yeah.
Now, don't eat fruit that you don't like. If you don't like grapefruits, don't eat it. The fruit you love, find out how to know when it's ripe and eat that. And if you have cravings, it's probably because you're not eating enough. The second thing I would say is you can make everything raw vegan. If you go to Google and you type in raw vegan and anything you want, okay, you can make that raw vegan.
Yeah.
So if you have a craving for something, make it raw, make it healthy.
It's so true.
And
I think realize too, it can take time. Be patient. It can take time, right? Because our microbiome, when you're eating the other foods, the tacos, the pizza, or whatever, and you want to eat another way and eat more clean, it's going to take time for the microbiome to adjust. And for me, another thing, I agree with the fruits. I think what makes me feel the best and want to stay on track and not have those cravings is the fruits. And like Honeycrisp apples, really ripe fruits that are amazing, and green juices too for me. Freshly made green juice makes me feel electric, alive, and so high vibe more than anything, the fruits and the green juice. Then I don't want to go down to like, not to say it's a lower vibe or be like, but
it is a lower vibe.
For me, it's a lower vibe. So I don't want to do those things.
Yes,
you know,
we might be more sensitive than others, right? Because there are plenty of people eating crappy foods that say they feel good and they look good, but I'm very sensitive to the vibration of my foods, meat and dairy and, very processed foods. They make me feel very depressed and I gain weight easily and I break out very easily. And I don't want that. I do the same thing. I say to myself, do I want that life back? And then the third thing I was going to say real quick about the cravings is that you got to find something else that you love, like I said. Okay, you got to find something else you love because a lot of times we crave foods because we want that feeling of feeling full or fulfilled.
Or feeling happy.
Fulfilled.
This planet has polarity, good and bad, and there can be a lot of bad. It can be hard on this planet, and I think our true selves are just love and like just the loving feelings and stuff. So I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So get another hobby or something that relieves your stress. Okay. I always remind my ladies, it's not hard to go raw, but it's a learning curve. And so we need to find things like, meditation or deep breathing or EFT, which I love. I do tapping every single day. And these things help me to lower my cortisol, increase my dopamine, and I don't just get everything from food anymore.
Yeah. And even speaking of lowering cortisol and increasing dopamine, I was telling you before this, when you do a high five, it increases your dopamine. So I do high fives all the time now because it's increased. And it does. It makes you feel better.
And also connecting with people that you love and people that, inspire you. That is really good for you and your food addiction because, you got to feel good. You got to feel good other than trying to do it with food, which makes you feel bad. It's just like, Gillian, thank you for doing this episode because People are trying to get a good feeling and they're hurting themselves in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't last. You see, when you use food to help you feel good, junk food, it doesn't last. But when you use something like connecting with others or yoga or meditation, it lasts.
So true. I love that. It's so true. Great point. And yeah, somebody else was asking a perfect stress protocol. But you just said some things for stress. So that was great. Okay. There's another one about the stress. In a world of moderation with the standard American diet, how do you respond to that as a raw vegan?
That's a good question.
I don't believe in moderation. Like I don't even have cacao in little bits, or I don't have last year I did have one glass of wine, I think, but I'm not a moderation type because it's just so quick for me to go to the other side and it doesn't make me feel as good.
I was just going to ask why. Okay,
yeah,
that's
but I
why.
think if people can do things in moderation and that works for them, then do what works for you. But for me, I'm not about moderation.
If you have an addictive personality, you cannot live in moderation. Some people can. I cannot, just like you. And the word moderation, the word moderate means average. So I don't believe in an average. I wasn't born to be average. Okay. And some people call the raw vegan diet extreme. Well, I think, in this society, it is extreme. It's extremely healthy and it's extremely rare to feel good and feel happy and be healthy and not need to go to the doctors and not need to get x-rays and prescription drugs. You know how common it is for somebody to be on prescription drugs today?
Yeah.
And so I would say, it is extreme. But if you want extreme results, sometimes you have to do something extreme. And so this question is interesting, but it's not possible in my life to have moderation. And plus, why would I want to hurt myself in moderation?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. I agree.
I always say I like to treat myself, not cheat myself.
Yeah.
So I treat myself with the most amazing, delicious food on earth. And I don't cheat myself out of my health and happiness anymore.
Yeah. And I think we really have to associate the certain food or habit with the bad part of it. So I know it's easy. Somebody taught me that once, and it just really, I think that's what stopped me from ever having cheat days and stuff, is associating like the wine and stuff or the coffee. Like I used to love coffee, right? I used to drink coffee every day. And it's so easy to think, oh, it's a social thing. It smells so good. It tastes good, right? Because I loved it.
It does smell good.
But now I associate it with, okay, well, it makes me sweat so much. It gives me so much anxiety. It has such a come down. It messes with my electrolytes, my whole system, makes me so hungry because everything's off inside my body. So now, like if I feel like, oh, I want a coffee, I think of like those bad parts of it because it's so easy to romanticize things and romanticize like the foods we're addicted to or the habits. But I think if you start associating it with the bad, make a list of the bad and then referring those and reprogram your mind every time you think of those, I think that's a good trick. And that's what really has helped me a lot over the last few years.
Yeah, that's genius.
Yeah.
You got to associate it with the bad because that's what it's doing, with what it's really doing to you.
Yeah.
And you can still appreciate the smell of coffee. I love the smell of coffee.
Me too.
I have coffee beans in my house and I smell them sometimes, but I wouldn't drink coffee. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. The next question. So this is a great question. Should food addiction be treated similarly to other addictions?
Yes. Sometimes people, so food addiction is the most acceptable addiction. That's why it's so common. And, sometimes people don't think it's as serious because, it's not like a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction. But it is serious because it's robbing you of your life and your potential and your happiness and your health and your freedom. You're not free if you're sick. You can't do everything you want to do in this lifetime if you don't have the energy to do it or the health to do it. And so, yes, I do believe it's that serious. And I think it should be treated in a similar way. But I don't even think, things like AA and these other rehab centers, I don't know if they really go to the root cause. Because I believe the root cause of all suffering and all addiction is that we don't feel good enough. And that's why I work with women now to help them to know that to truly know that they are good enough, they are worthy and deserving of the health and the life that they want. And like you said, and taking control of their mind and changing the way they see things, the way they see themselves and the food. And a lot of us don't feel that we're worth that time and energy and cost, and prioritization. And we are, and that's it. That's what we have to get. We want to break this addiction. We are worth it.
So well said. And we're worthy just for being here. It's so well
just
said.
For being here. You see, that's a big one because people think they need to look beautiful or lose weight or
be successful or do this or make a lot of money or have the best house or whatever.
No.
Yeah. And you were just talking about cost. I know a lot of people say, well, they might feel addicted to those foods, but a reason they might give or an excuse might be, oh, the healthy foods cost so much, right? And they do cost more. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, they do cost more, but you're going to pay now or you're going to pay a lot more later. And later, you're going to pay a lot more money for the prescriptions, the x-rays, the special doctors, the time off work. And you're also going to pay with your life. And your life can end early. You can have a debilitating disease. You can have to deal with, having to not live the life that you were born to live. And so that's a real cost. Right now, yes, organic fruit and vegetables, of course, they cost more. But we have to remember that bags and shoes and clothes and entertainment and alcohol and these things cost too. So I truly believe, Gillian, that I have just reallocated my money. Okay, I have just reallocated it because I used to spend thousands on makeup. I used to spend thousands on facial treatments,
Wow.
dermatologist appointments, and now I spend money on fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
More money than most people, but I don't spend any money on prescription pills and over-the-counter drugs and time off of work and all these other things and makeup. I don't wear any makeup anymore, face makeup anymore because I will break out.
Yeah.
And I used to spend so much money on MAC and primer, concealer, foundation, So I'm just reallocating it. That's what I say to people.
Yeah, good point. I still wear makeup, but you know what?
I put on a little mascara.
No, you look so great. You don't need it. You
and
look amazing.
A little for you because I was like, I'm going to be Gillian today. I got to look good.
You look great. But it's so true. You're right. Because, some people around me are like, wow, your diet's expensive. But I probably used to spend more in my life before. Going to the club. We used to go to the club every weekend, get the bottle service, get the hotels. So much money eating out all the time. I'd rather make my own fresh food than eat out in restaurants now. So it's probably balances out that you end up spending less. And it's so worth it because you feel so good. Nothing feels better than taking care of yourself. It changes your whole life. And if you can get here, it's just the best thing ever.
She's right. Absolutely.
Okay, so what do you do when you feel sick because you're cutting out the bad foods?
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad we're talking about this. So in the beginning, 2011, I went raw. And after a month, so just like you, after the first day, I was like, whoa. Because I told myself I would do 7 days because I would do anything to clear my skin. It really was from my skin. I had cystic acne. It was so bad. And I was at a rock bottom in my depression as well. And so I was willing to try anything new. I was always trying new diets. So I was like, all right, let me try this crazy raw food diet.
Where'd you hear about the raw food diet?
This guy put me on to David Wolfe. He sent me a David Wolfe video. And David Wolfe is like such a convincing guy. I was like, okay, it's going to solve everything.
The OG, yeah.
Yeah. And I ate a raw vegan diet. And after like the first day, I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm awake.
Yeah, it's
I feel
crazy.
like I'm awake for the first time. And then after a month, I got really sick and I started having severe coughing. I could not sleep. I was coughing so much. I had really bad mucus and I kept like blowing my nose all day long. I was a cashier at the time and people didn't want to come to my register because they thought I had like, a disease. I'm coughing and I'm like, no, I'm raw vegan. I'm healthy.
I'm okay.
Yeah. I'm actually healthier.
That would scare me if I didn't go through detox, so I'm really lucky. It probably can scare some people and they think, well, this isn't right then if I'm getting all these symptoms, right?
I was very scared, but lucky for me, I had a mentor in my life, this guy that put me onto the raw food diet. And he said, you're just going through detox and you need a colonic. And I was like, what is that? I'm not putting anything up there. And then he was like, no, this is what you need. So I waited and waited and waited. And finally, and I tried everything, Gillian. Oil of oregano, echinacea, ginger shots. I was doing everything, but I couldn't stop coughing and I was so sick and I couldn't sleep. And I was just like, okay, fine. So I booked an appointment. I was coughing for a long time, okay? Weeks on end. And an hour after the colonic, I stopped coughing and I've never been sick since.
Wow, crazy.
2011. So what happened was all of the old, decaying, rotting foods in my body, the old antibiotics and all the processed foods and all the meat and dairy, especially dairy, were causing me to feel overwhelmingly sick because they were into my bloodstream. When you eat fruit and veggies, it starts to release those old things. And so you need to get them out. And I know some people say that colonics are not natural, but sometimes to eliminate unnatural things from our body, we have to do something slightly unnatural. I think colonics truly have saved my life, definitely affected my skin highly. And I recommend them to everyone. Gravity method, closed system colonics only, though. I don't believe in the open ones. And yeah, I'm a big proponent of colonics.
Wow, yeah, I've benefited from colonics too. I think they're amazing. And it's crazy because so much waste can be left inside of us. I think people just think, well, after a couple days or After you go to the bathroom, it's all out of you, right? And you're clean. But no, it's crazy how much waste can be left inside of people for a long period of time too.
We're walking around with 5 to 25 pounds of undigested, rotting fecal matter that is affecting every single organ and cell in our body. So please understand that if you have acne like I did, your colon is impacted. Your colon is impacted. You need a colonic.
So what do you think is the biggest cause of acne?
An impacted colon.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, dairy is like
Dairy's
probably
huge.
it. But when I was eliminating dairy and it did help, but I still had acne because I still had undigested old fecal matter in my colon. And I know that sounds gross, but it is gross. It is gross. We're walking around in a cesspool, basically. And so acne is, because our skin is our second largest organ of elimination. Our colon is our first. And if our colon's impacted, our skin will be impacted. Our skin is a direct reflection of what's going on inside our colon. Mm-hmm. And guys, I had the worst skin, and I tried everything, all the Neutrogena and Clearasil and Accutane and everything, and nothing worked like a raw vegan diet and getting colonics. Because, by the way, if I had gotten colonics and gone back to eating the meat and dairy and processed foods, I would have just gotten my acne back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Me too. I had it really bad on my back. It was so embarrassing.
Just on your back, not on your face.
No, I would get like a few zits on my face, but my back was covered. And then I would get it on my chest. And then when I started to get a lot of health problems after my first daughter was born, because I couldn't keep up with all of it anymore, I started to get it on my legs too. But then I noticed when I took gluten away, it got rid of that. But I think a big cause of acne is the dairy and the processed food. I know I always talk about this, but Woody Harrelson, he was on a bus once when he was younger. Did you hear that story?
No.
And he had acne all over his face. And this girl was like, oh, your face. Like, I think it takes a lot to go up to someone though and be like, you have acne because of this. I don't think I would do that. But she went up to him and she said, get rid of dairy. In 3 days, your acne will be gone. And he's like, what? So he tried it. I think he's mostly raw vegan now.
He is. Yeah, I met him.
So he removed dairy and he was like, by golly, it was gone in 3 days.
Yeah, I used to have it all. I still have scars. I still have acne scars.
Wow.
There's all over my body.
Wow.
And the scars are healing slowly still. It's been 12 years, but I still have, I don't know if you can see it, but I still have scars.
Wow.
All over my back, my arms, my legs too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
really
99% of acne is caused from diet.
Yeah,
and I just sometimes want to tell people, I feel bad because some people must really struggle and do the creams and do all these things. Like when I was younger, they put me on the birth control pill when I was in grade 8 or grade 9 to
oh my
level
gosh.
it out. And it was just like, okay, so somebody said, how to identify you have a food addiction? I heard about it, but didn't realize I had it for a while.
That's a great question. When food is causing you more pain than good, when food feels like it's controlling you, when you feel that you cannot not eat things that you don't want anymore, when you don't feel like you're in control, and when food is causing you pain and guilt and you're suffering because of what you're eating, that is a food addiction. When you're suffering, you're not here on earth to suffer. So
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Great answer. And someone said, if I eat one unhealthy junk food, I regret it and can't I get stressed and start binging. So maybe how can someone deal with maybe the guilt they feel and not binging, you think?
Yeah, well, you're not eating enough fruit and veggies, okay?
And green juice.
Yeah. I have green juice every day. I love green juice.
Yeah.
But it's important for people to get the calories in, especially in the beginning, because I eat much less now than I ate 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. When I first went raw, I had to eat a lot more. And a lot more nuts too, because I was just used to so many calories, dense calories from Snicker bars and McDonald's and things like that. And so I would just recommend that you, first of all, take it easy on yourself and don't think that there's anything wrong with you. Like Gillian said, the food is designed to make you addicted to it. And understand that if you eat something, you're going to crave it more. So you've got to get it out of your body, out of your house, and ask the people you live with and ask them to, if they can just for 30 days eat that stuff outside the house. That's going to really help. That's going to really help, because once your microbiome changes, like Gillian said, you are going to crave the foods you're eating. And yeah, I crave green juice and I crave fruit and veggies, and I don't really crave anything else. I appreciate things. Things are beautiful. I can see a beautiful cake, but I don't see it as food.
Yeah, me too.
So,
me too. And I know I can't find the question. Somebody was saying what to do when there's nothing else to do. They were saying they live in a cold climate, and I guess they feel like they're bored. There's nothing else to do. So they get their happiness from the food.
Right.
I live in a cold climate, and you know what? Fortunately, I don't get my happiness anymore there, but because like I said earlier, I feel like I found my purpose with this channel and with other things. And I found that through just sticking to clean foods. I feel like it made me get really in touch with who I am and what path I should be following.
So I guess the question is, how can they eat raw when like cooked food is like all that there is to do, or eating junk food might
Getting
be
satisfied from that food because it's winter and they feel like there's not much else to do.
So I don't believe raw vegan is for everyone. Okay. I believe the raw vegan lifestyle is for people that really want it. Okay. I was at a rock bottom. I was overweight. I was depressed. I had really bad acne and I had no life purpose. And I was at an all-time low when I found this lifestyle. And I wanted it so bad. I wanted to clear my skin. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be happy and feel good. And so I was willing to do whatever it took. And so if you're making an excuse, this is going to sound harsh, but it is what it is. If you're making an excuse, you're not going to get a result. You're going to get one or the other. And so you got to find some other things to do besides eat. And eating can be a great pleasurable experience. But I remember my grandpa, who died of prostate cancer, and he had very bad diabetes. I tried to get him to stop eating steak, and he was like, if I can't eat steak, there's no other pleasure in life. Well, that's what he told himself.
That's like people come on my channel, some people, not all the time, but you hear people say like, you only live once, or like you must hate your life, eat a steak, right? Like,
what do you say to people that say you only live once, Gillian?
Well, sometimes I just don't write back because I'm just like, you know what? I feel so amazing this way. And I feel like I shouldn't defend myself and be like, well, blah, 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 blah. Because I just feel so good. Yeah. That's why I choose to eat this way. I won't feel as good if I eat a steak.
Yeah. You only live once. That's why you want to live your best life. You see, I want to live my life purpose, which is to help inspire people to be healthy. If I'm sick, I don't have the energy to do that. And so your life purpose, you're going to need a lot of energy for that. If you don't have that energy, you're not going to be able to fulfill your destiny here. And so that's why I eat healthy, and I work out and I do yoga and I do things like this so that I have the energy. Because I mean, if we don't have energy, we can't get anything accomplished. And so, yes, you only live once. That's why you want to live your best life. You want to feel your best and look your best and do your best. And you can do that when you eat your best.
So true. And with the energy, it's such a drastic difference eating this way, I feel like, versus this is my number one reason for eating this way and eating so clean, because I have so much unlimited energy to do the podcast, take care of my kids, do a million things in a day, and I never crash. So with the other things, like the manufactured things, or when I used to drink coffee or all that, as much as I loved it, I would crash. Yeah. So I never want to feel that. So, and I feel like anything addictive like that, a lot of it makes us crash and doesn't give us the natural energy that we truly need.
Absolutely. Listen, I got in late last night from Texas. If I was not raw, I would have canceled on you. Yeah. Because this is me tired. And before I went raw, they said I had chronic fatigue. When I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and now I'm 38 and I have way more energy and I do so much. And like, honestly, I couldn't imagine another way of living that would give me the energy that I need to do to live the life I want. You see, okay, you're making a choice in life. You can choose to continue eating that food, but then you're choosing, like you said, the consequences. Okay. And I choose the consequences of eating healthy, which is energy, feeling good, looking good. Okay, not having digestive issues. Like I was always having issues like constipation or diarrhea or gas and bloating and all these things I don't have to deal with anymore. It's not a normal part of life.
No, it's not. So many people think it's normal, or as we age, our eyesight gets worse, or this and that. It's not,
It's not. When you're eating your species-specific food. Yeah. You see, it's nobody's fault. We're not taught how to eat, Gillian. We had to how did you find the raw food diet?
So I had a lot of health problems after May was born 10 years ago, and I went to a bunch of doctors, and they were like chronic fatigue, hypoglycemia. I had a lot of panic attacks. My digestion was a mess. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then the 18th doctor said, maybe you have celiac. So I went home and I was like, what is that? So I removed gluten, and I felt like a new person within 24 hours. I didn't even realize I had so much brain fog until I removed gluten, and so much depression I had was caused from gluten. And there's a lot of studies that show when people remove gluten, they feel so much happier. And then if they reintroduce it, they notice a decrease in their happiness. So that was the hugest thing for me. And then I started realizing, whoa, if this affects me like this, imagine how other things affect me. And then I started researching food 24/7. How do blueberries affect me? How does this affect me? And I was reading like every book, the China study. This is all I was doing with my time. And then like 2016, I read something by Dr. Sebi about the electric foods, living foods diet, try this. And something just like went off in my head, like ding dong, like how have you never thought about this? This seems so natural. And then the next day I tried and I've been hooked ever since. Like my life just like got amazing right after I went raw. I started attracting so much goodness and I felt like myself for the first time ever. Maybe because I aligned with my purpose too. I don't know, but it's just been the most remarkable thing ever.
I'm laughing because I feel like the gluten-free diet is the gateway drug to a raw vegan diet.
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
that's exactly 2008 is the last time I had gluten. That's how I started too. I realized it just now because 2008 is when I went to all these doctors. They didn't know what was wrong. Okay, they never do because they don't know how to eat.
They don't know, yeah.
They're not taught, and it's not their
No.
fault. And so I went to like this hippie like farm health food store, and the guy was like, "You need to go gluten-free. You have all this yeast." He looked at my tongue and everything. So he gave me some acidophilus, and he said, "Go gluten-free." And so, yeah, that really helped me, but it led me down a rabbit hole just like you.
Yeah,
So,
and then
same
you
thing.
see, it's absolutely crazy.
The gluten-free diet.
Yeah, the gluten-free diet for the win. It's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
somebody said tips to make it easier eating an evening meal with the family who are eating cooked. So my whole family eats cooked foods and people are like, how the heck do you do this? For me, I never crave their foods. It's just I kind of treat it like a job I do with love. But I think for me, like falling in love with my own meals and preparing those first or making sure I know those are coming up and doing things that are extra high vibe around dinner time is a tip I would give. Like have that green juice, have the fruit, work out, and then you're just feeling so high vibe, you're not tempted to have that. I mean, that's what works for me. Put on music, do what makes you feel good.
Yeah, eat enough fruit. That is my answer to most of these questions and most questions I get. Because you see, if you're not getting the calories from fruit, you're going to crave cooked food. And I don't think there's anything wrong with eating healthy cooked food. I don't think we should be comparing a sweet potato to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Beyond Beef Burger.
Yeah.
Okay. And so those two things are not the same. So now if you really want, like some people don't want to eat a lot of fruit, and that's fine. If you want to eat some cooked food, have some healthy cooked food, but have standards for what you eat. Have boundaries. I like to encourage people to write a list, okay? 3 lists. One is a list of all the things you love to eat that make you feel really good. Another list is all the things you eat socially that don't affect you in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third list is things that you will never eat again because they make you feel crappy. They make you feel sick. They make you feel depressed and they make you break out. And so I have these 3 lists. And sometimes I eat things socially like nutritional yeast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat it on a regular basis, but if I'm at a restaurant or something, I might eat that.
Yeah.
And things like that. And cacao is another one. I don't keep it in my house and I don't eat it regularly, but I'll have something once or twice a year. But I think that's important. And then the other thing is like, well, do you want this? Because if you want this, if you want to be raw, it's very easy. It's much easier than you think. But you got to want this and you got to control your mind and you got to say, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset is going to affect the rest of your life, everything. When you work out, you're going to say, I can do this. At work, when you're doing a presentation, you can say, I can do this. Because I used to be deathly afraid of cameras and people and crowds. And public speaking was like my biggest fear. And now I just say, I can do this. And, you know, it gets easier and easier and easier the more you do it. So the more you eat raw every day, the easier it gets. And after 12 years, I promise you, it is so easy to be raw, but you've got to put in the reps and you've got to control your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's the key. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
This has been so amazing. You are so incredible and you're so gorgeous. And I've loved sitting down with you in person. This has been
I
so
know.
exciting and I'd love to do it
so
again.
surreal.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And is there anything to end off with that you feel called to say about food addiction? Is there anything you think we missed? If not, then it's okay too. And I'll make sure everybody goes subscribe. I'll put your stuff all down below and your course for food addiction. I recommend
Yes.
I'll put that down below and all your Instagram, everything as well.
Yeah, I would just like to end by saying if you don't control your health and your mind, someone else will. Okay, society will, your coworkers will, your friends and family will. You've got to be in control and you've got to set a standard for your life. And I also just want to remind people that they are enough, no matter what they eat, no matter what they look like, no matter what they say or do or anything, you are enough because the Creator makes no mistakes. You're from the Creator, you are enough. If you are enough for them, you're enough for everyone else.
Exactly.
That's all I want to
I
just
love
say.
it. And I feel like there's no better investment too than in yourself. There's nothing better. So go get some fruits and veggies. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe right now, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.